You and everyone else have just got their hands on this memo of that phone conversation between Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky. What really stands out?
Well, first of all, the word you used, a memo, because the president of the United States had said that they were going to release a transcript. This is not exactly a transcript. It's called a memorandum of communication. So it's not word for word. It is pretty much a summary of the call made by the White House. And it's about 5 pages long. And there are 2 instances in which the name of Joe Biden comes up. 2 instances where clearly the president of the United States does ask the president of Ukraine to look into Joe Biden. 2 instances. There's a lot of talk, he says, about Biden's son, what Biden stopped the prosecution. So whatever you can do with the attorney general would be great. The other instance is asking the president of the Ukraine, so if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me. So 2 instances where he clearly talks about Biden and asks help from the Ukrainian president, who actually does say that he will try to appoint a new attorney general who will look into the matter. Now, of course, the Democrats are saying that this proves what they've been saying all along, that there was indeed a pressure put by the president of the U.S. on the president of Ukraine. The Republicans, on the other hand, they're saying, well, you see, he did nothing wrong, because their focus is on what they call the quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, they say. That means that the president of the U.S. didn't specifically link his request to the military aid that the U.S. gives to Ukraine. And that military aid at that time was being withheld by the U.S. administration and was later released. But there is no mention of that in the memo that we just saw.
No, there is no mention of military aid specifically, but Trump does say, doesn't he, in part of it, that, we, the United States, we do a lot for Ukraine, whereas France and Germany, they don't do so much. And he says Angela Merkel talks a lot about Ukraine, but actually when it comes down to it, she doesn't really help the Ukraine very much. Now, that is the argument that Trump made yesterday, isn't it, at the UN General Assembly. He said, look, we withheld the funds because we want our European partners to step up and contribute more. Is that consistent with what we're reading here?
Well, the real issue is that what the Democrats are saying is that there is no necessity of having the president of the United States specifically say, if you don't do this, we will withhold the money, because they're saying that simply by his position as the president of the United States, because the United States is such a big help to Ukraine and gives so much money. It is true that they do give a lot of money. This latest payment was nearly $400 billion. So they are saying that basically the U.S. president, by simply asking a favor from a foreign government, was doing something wrong and was asking was requesting something and offering the help of the United States in return. And that's what you can see in the memorandum. But really what the Democrats are calling for, and they've been saying that ever since the president said that he would release what he called a transcript, they want the whistleblower complaint. They want to see what the whistleblower thought was so disturbing that he had to make a complaint, especially since, if you remember, at the start of this whole scandal, the whistleblower complaint, when it first came out, was mentioning, the sources were mentioning a promise made by the U.S. president to that foreign leader. And so far, we don't have any indication as to what that promise was.
Right, and we have to say as well, in almost every paragraph of this memo that we've been given, Rudy Giuliani's name comes up, Trump's personal lawyer. Trump repeatedly says, I'll get Rudy to give you a call. He also says he'll get Attorney General Bill Barr to give you a call. He certainly seems to be trying to move things in that direction, doesn't he?
Yes, and that's something that we had already heard of, because Rudy Giuliani himself had already confirmed that he did indeed put some pressure on Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. He did confirm that he did meet with an aide to the Ukrainian president to move that in that direction. And basically, the strategy of the Trump administration is to say, yes, we did put pressure on the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden, but that is nothing wrong. Donald Trump said it himself. He said, wouldn't you want to investigate something if there was a problem? I don't see anything wrong with doing that. Everyone else on the Democratic side, of course, is saying that simply asking a foreign leader to look into a potential political rival is a betrayal of the oath of office, as we heard Nancy Pelosi say yesterday.
Ketivan, for now, thank you very much indeed.